You have finally understood that most people lack the depth that you contain. For a large part of your life, you would have met other people and made connections, made friends, maybe you had workmates and colleagues, and you would have tried to convey the way you saw the world to them. Through normal interactions, you would have tried to share and then tried to get your point across, tried to explain how you saw things. And for a long time, it would have seemed like some people understood and some people didn't. And those that understood, you felt comfortable around them. But as time went on, you started to realize that perhaps they didn't understand. Perhaps they were just saying that they understood, and that in fact, their way of looking at the world was completely foreign to the way you looked at the world. So instead of giving up, because that would have seemed like you had no one and no one understood you, that was too difficult at the time. So in the ensuing years, when you would have met people, you would have tried to explain yourself to them. You would have gotten better and better at articulating the way you saw the world. As your attempts kept on not quite reaching their mark, you would have become even more good at being able to explain yourself to others. And for a time you thought that your improved vocabulary, your better understanding of yourself, and that your articulation was in fact getting you a higher quality of person. And so you would have gone along on this path for some time, feeling more comfortable, feeling like finally I have people around me, a good group of people, and we're on the same wavelength, we're on the same page. But at some point, all of that would have come crashing down, because although it was harder to detect this time, in fact, not much had changed. People still didn't understand your perspective, still were not like you, still did not contain the depth that you contained. And it wasn't until some big event, some big challenge, some great pressure was placed upon you, upon the situation, that all these things became revealed. Because when things were going swimmingly, when things were just easy and fun and free, then none of the cracks were showing. But once outside pressures came in, once there was a reason to have to rely upon the understanding, once there was a need for people to live up to the things they said they believed in, that's when everything started to crumble. And you still didn't understand what this meant. You still thought that they did have the depth you had. They did see the world the way you did. They did live their reality through that lens. And because you thought that was the case, you were sure that they would live up to that. And they would hold the load. They would carry the weight and make the sacrifices as you would, because you truly believed in those things. You truly saw the world that way, and you had the depth and capacity to contain and carry out what was needed in those moments. But it was then that you found that in fact this was not true. They had just become better at selling their story to you, as you had become better at articulating yourself to them. And they had used your articulations of yourself to better weave a narrative, to prove themselves to you. But once that was tested, it all fell through. And then finally you realized not everyone is like you. In fact, there are very few. And this has taught you to be far more discerning and realize that Your own depth is only shared by some people. Not to think that everyone has that capacity.